Have you ever seen a Wolfgang Puck show on TV? It's pretty funny because every 5 seconds he's like, look at that, look at that. Well, the funny thing is today, I feel like Wolfgang Puck because the rear haunches and roofline of this 2017 Mazda MX-5 RF make me say, look at that, look at that. RF stands for retractable fastback, but Targa would also be a pretty good name. With the roof closed, it kind of reminds me of those BMW Z3, Z4 coupes or a Nissan 370Z, and it looks really, really good. Hold the magic button down for 13 seconds while doing 10 kilometers an hour or less, and watch as this hardtop folds right behind the front seats. And now air is allowed to come inside and mess up your hair. Well, not mine, obviously. Compared to the regular MX-5 with a manual soft top, this one is heavier, slower, prettier, quieter, and I guess safer. Also pricier. The RF lineup starts with a GS at 38,800 Canadian dollars, followed by the GT at $42,200. This GT model that we're testing also has the executive package, which is a $900 option and gives you these Napa seats and stuff. If you want, Mazda will give you the Grand Sport package for $3,600, and that's really cool because it gives you Brembo brakes and BBS alloys. So it's not cheap, that's for sure, but at least standard equipment includes the limited slip diff and the Bilstein dampers. Feature-wise, you get much more than you need in a little roadster. The infotainment system might not have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it integrates really well with your smartphone, and it's one of the better ones out there. The interior looks really nice, but once you start feeling it up, it loses part of its appeal because all the panels are hard plastic. Practicality isn't also the greatest because there's like zero space for your stuff. Under the hood, you get the spirited 2.0-liter 4-cylinder Skyactiv motor that makes 155 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. Now that might not sound like much because it's not, but this thing is pretty light, so it's not slow, but it's not really fast either. However, this is a very raw driving experience, so speed kind of feels mega. So you're ripping it down the straights and then you just see the dude in the e-bike just overtake you. That's how slow you're going. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because this thing is a lot of fun and it's very cheap to run. Over the week, I've averaged about 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers. That is nothing. Most importantly, handling is how this thing makes up for the lack of speed. In fact, it corners so well that on a track, it can keep up with cars with a lot more power like a Mini Cooper S or a Ford Fiesta ST. But while that works really well on the track, on the road, it's a little bit disappointing having so much grip because you want to kick out the back and it just doesn't happen. There's just so much grip. If you really, really want to though, and you find a nice slippery corner and you set up the car properly, and then you really go for it, fun is still possible. The funny thing is that the extra weight from the hardtop made Mazda engineers refigure out the suspension, and I think that this one grips even better than the soft top. The ride is pretty firm. I'm not going to say it's uncomfortable. Bumps are definitely felt, but the chassis remains compliant most of the time. The new roof takes up 3 extra liters from the trunk space, so you're left with 127 liters. Still plenty for shopping, but not enough for golf clubs. The RF is a really interesting option for those of you that go on long trips and like the extra quietness and refinement from the hardtop, or like the extra safety sense of a hard roof. And quite frankly, I'd pick it over the regular one just based on looks alone. The driving position still sucks a little bit because there's no telescopic adjustment for the wheel. So for my hands to be at the proper distance, I have to bring my back upright more than I'd want to. But other than that, there's very little to nag about. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an overall very good score of 8.1 out of 10.